Creativity has been defined as the ability to recognize or generate new ideas or alternative possibilities. When we talk about creativity from a perspective of leadership, we look at something that is vital to the development and to the future growth of any organization. The problem that exists is, in a lot of organizations, creativity really isn't valued. Now, this is particularly true when we look at highly mechanized organizations or highly bureaucratic organizations, but it's also true within our creative organizations. Sometimes we might reserve those creative processes for a certain group and not listen to everyone's voice. Now, in order for us to understand and truly embrace creativity within the context of an organization, it requires that we recognize that those ideas really can come from anywhere within that organization, and that a creative leader is somebody who can lead that creative process. Whether he or she actually comes up with the idea or not, they need to understand how important it is for others to be involved in this process. Now, recently I had an opportunity to talk to some leaders about this very issue. And it was interesting how some of the leaders understood creativity as being a process that takes place within every level of the organization, while others recognize that the leader himself or herself needs to actually come up with those ideas. Now, certainly we have organizations and many examples, Apple for one, where we see those ideas being generated from the top down, and then we see a support staff that maybe supports those ideas and brings them forward. But we also see many examples of organizations where an individual at a different level within the organization has actually come up with this idea. Now, it's important to understand that within creativity, this really involves seeing new possibilities and new perspectives, and it requires individuals getting out of their comfort zone. It does lead to innovation within these organizations, but it involves risk, it involves understanding that there might be new ideas and new perspectives, and it involves charting uncharted areas, looking at things that might be unfamiliar or uncomfortable. It requires individuals that are willing to try something new. Now, Margaret Wheatley actually argued that when one is in balance with one's surroundings, that creativity is possible. And she went on to explain that change is a very natural process that takes place within our environments and within our individual organizations. And the individuals that embrace change lead to creative processes. And that when we embrace creativity, we're able to actually understand that change is natural, and we're able to actually then take a new approach where we can actually bring our organizations to a new place, to a new level, where creativity is possible at all levels. Now, again, as I mentioned, not all organizations approach things in this way. So if you happen to be working within an organization that is mind-numbing, that you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's quite possible that it might be a little more difficult for you to embrace this idea. Now, it doesn't change the fact that it's something that's necessary and that's required. In order for an organization to move forward, we need to understand that we might need to change the way we do things. This is part of the process of innovation, and certainly shows how important creativity is to the overall growth and success of an organization. Now, it seems interesting that oftentimes we might approach the issue of strategy and forget how important this creativity is to that process. But certainly we see that creativity is necessary for innovation, and innovation really is necessary for the lifelong success within an organization.